Welcome to Strategic Insights Podcast. I'm your moderator, Andrew Makl. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by two of the quality leaders that we associate in our organization, as well as a partnership that we're excited to discuss today. The purpose of today's podcast, I'd like to introduce you to those two leaders and why we have this partnership. First, I'd like to introduce Dominic Rea. He is the founder of 123 Go. And of course, our internal quality expert, Tim Burke. Tim Burke, our senior quality account executive, liaison, thought leader, guru, a lot of things in that title. But for everybody that's listening, I want to understand and have you guys break down a little bit of your history, why we've got to where we are today. Basically, what got you in quality, a little bit of your background, and then we're going to break in, I think, why this partnership that Strategic and 123 Go has is so important for people to understand. So I'm going to start a little bit with Tim. Tim, I'm going to have you give us a little bit of your background for everybody listening so they can understand why this partnership started and where we are today.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I appreciate being here. I'm excited about it. Been in quality now for 30 plus years, and it seems to be in my blood. So in 1995, in fact, I started a company to create quality management software and built that company up and lived that life and trying to just develop solutions to allow customers to have a usable tool, intuitive enough to create the efficiency, to avoid defects, to have everything under one roof so that they could really excel and thrive in managing the quality standards.
Awesome. Without pointing out too many things, what was that company that got you kicked off to get you where you're at today?
Sure, thanks. That was CBOS, the company that was started there in 1995. And then I also then after that life with CBOS, I worked in a lighting company and built another solution, and in fact worked with Dominic in 123 Go and did some software automation there and helping that company be really good with quality, but also to be able to quote really quickly for energy efficiencies. Then, of course, I went back to my roots of quality at Ford Motor Company. And I still work on process improvement and that sort of thing. And then finally, I've arrived back in the selling of quality software with Strategic and building out solutions for helping companies with quality.
Well, I think that really paints your passion of quality and how you've been able to maintain that throughout your career at those organizations. But I think that's also important how we talk about those organizations. It ties to how you actually know Dominic and that relationship. Dominic, can you give a little bit of your background?
Yeah, sure. My earliest memory of working with computers and what kind of drove my passion for working with technology in general is I actually broke my dad's computer, accidentally formatted his boot disk or something before he got home. And so that was kind of my first experience, and I had a lot of joy of experiencing the result of delivering something and fixing something. So before he got home, I had fixed it, and I was very excited about that. So then, fast forward a few years, I was in college. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I had a plan to go dig ditches for an irrigation company. I said, what better way to spend a summer than outside, getting a nice tan and rolling with that. So that was my plan, and I got a call from Tim at CBOS at the time, and he offered me an internship. And from there, I, started working with them, decided to stay on at the end of the summer, got into customer service, got into report writing, got into the technical details of the application, and then got into project management after that, got into sales engineering. And from there, I moved on to another company, another EQMS software vendor in the space called IQS, worked with them for about 6 or 7 years, and then moved on from there and founded 123 Go. So that's how I got where I am.
So it's interesting. So he took the bug of quality and just let you understand what that was, and you ran with it on your own. So you both are, I'd say, living the quality and the impact of that for organizations and how you can better that. And I think that's really the crux of how this partnership happened. And we were lucky enough to snag Tim back from industry, which thank you for coming, and help foster our team. And in that, Tim was able to see the deficiencies that we saw in industry. And we saw areas, since we support SMB all the way up to enterprise level customers, that we see there's gaps in products in certain size companies, as well as just gaps in products in general, to be flexible and quick enough to respond to requirements that we see being driven by either industry vertical requirement. We all know it's a changing, right? What's the one constant? it's going to be changed, right?
Yes.
So a little bit on, we can paint the picture of how you two both got into quality and why you're here today. But I want to explain, when you guys started talking, how did you make this partnership happen between SIG and 123Go? If you can give us a little background on, the history of what we've done in a very short period of time to, I think, offer what I would say is a really good solution for organizations that are finding that they can't keep up with the requirements. And they don't have the money possibly to buy a enterprise level solution. But I wanted to ask you both to dive into that a little bit for us.
With strategic, we have a lot of customers who try to give the best solutions to all of our customers, and sometimes there's gaps in what customers are looking for that our product suites won't exactly fulfill. So, for example, one of the gaps was with medical companies and food companies. They needed what they call batch history records or device history records. This is an FDA-regulated requirement, and a lot of times they would do this with a traveler, a paper traveler, detailing out each operation that the product goes through, and then they have to track the lots, the inspection results, and then keep all this stuff together and produce a report of exactly what went into a certain product. So we found that with 123Go, we were able to really quickly create that solution, and that is a big need for people that have to do that, those device history records, lot history records.
It's interesting. I find that requirement on a lot of RFPs, and a lot of times, historically, I've never been able to check that box. And to be able to come to check that box, we actually get questioned, like, you really can do that? Yeah. So I don't think it's very common for people to really see that requirement and be responded to with, yes, absolutely, we can do that. And then you bring in the history of why. I think it's unique that there's that one offering, but I think the one thing I want to step back for a little bit is the partnership's interesting to us because I think that a lot of our company has a very shared values. We have a very much a same vision on what we see as the requirements from customers and how we're going to get there to use them, and the meeting of your minds as well as using our team as well for any possible needs for building out larger applications, hosting. It is very much a team atmosphere. It's weird, Dominic, if I didn't see your email being different, I wouldn't know you worked at a different company. Mm-hmm. And it is that type of seamless approach, I think, needs to make sure when people say, oh, it's a partnership. Well, it is a partnership. It's a partnership because we both realize we're not going to get to where we need to go for these types of solutions without being together, right? Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things where it's a good mashup or marriage, if you will, to reach those requirements.
Yeah, so it's just a joy to work with Dominic because, number one, we have those shared values. We can trust each other. We know how to work well together. And then when you have his great technical aptitude and the ability to just quickly innovate and deliver solutions so well done, it's great, and it's good for customers.
So while everybody's listening and probably wants to get some numbers at the end of this, I'm going to have more fun and say, Dominic, give me a little bit of background on 123Go as a product, as a platform. Give me so people can understand why it's so different and allowing you to address these needs.
Sure. So a lot of my philosophy around software development came from my experience working with Tim and with the various teams that I've worked with over the years. A lot of different experiences where we would have an opportunity to work with a client on a specific need in quality and want to deliver to that, and then you get into the project and they're a little bit different than the last customers that you may have delivered that product to. So I kept seeing over and over again there was this little variation in what makes different companies unique in manufacturing. So when they have a quality process that does something just a little bit different, it kind of broke the mold. And so I asked myself, what would be a solution to that problem, and where we could have a system that would allow for the flexibility to address all of those needs in those ways that let those companies maintain their independence, their differentiation in their own market space. So I started 123Go to build a low-code platform, which basically just means it's a Lego set of components that you can very rapidly plug together to build whatever you want. And my focus area, my kind of passion is around supporting manufacturing because I love people building physical things. As a technologist, I kind of bridge this gap between technology and people, and I've always really enjoyed that because I could translate between the technologists and the people, and now I have a product that lets me actually deliver to help the people do their jobs better, more efficiently, in better compliance, and have some really simple, awesome technology to work with. So
I think we skipped over it really quickly, but I want to make sure they understand it. When you mean Lego set, a lot of times when people say, oh, we're a little bit different, and I need to differentiate. So I'm asking my vendor to change my software a little bit. And, it's a customization. It's going to take time. It's going to take money. Well, how long does that take? What does that look like? When you say Lego set, why is that different than a typical customized software solution?
A lot of custom software projects, they start off with you kind of a blank slate. It's like write down everything that you want and how you want each of those components to work. So let's say you were going to build a car and you have your model of car that's different than your competitor's model of car. So if you were going to assemble that, you know that you need 4 wheels, you need a frame, you need an engine, etc. Well, if you start with a custom software project, you're saying, I need this specific, rubber and this specific tread and you have to go down to very low-level detail. What I'm talking about is in 123 Go, what we have is all of those things are pre-built. You can go back, you can rework any of that. And if you need changes or you want to optimize some part of that Lego model, you can take components that we have. We also have an extension capability to build things very specifically for very specific industries, for specific companies if we need to, without the need to change the core software. So all of our customers should not necessarily be impacted by a unique change for one client. So we have this ability to build a specific Lego piece we can add to their set that nobody else gets impacted by. At the same time, we can take Lego sets, we can build Lego sets and sell them to anybody, which would come pre-built, pre-configured with all of the pieces you need to set up quality management, inventory management, whatever solution we're building.
So basically, the core software is not being impacted, and they can do whatever configurations that match their business very quickly. Does that take somebody that has a lot of software skill and knowledge, or is it more of a joint working with you for a very quick turnaround? Because obviously, I'm used to 3 months for a lot of customizations. What does the normal timeline look like for 123 Go in matching those needs or making quick configurations?
So if you're adjusting in the model that we have, you can adjust the layout of forms, you can adjust the layout of user experiences and screens very quickly and without any coding. So that's one of the things that I love about the partnership with Strategic is you've got all this knowledge about the clients, their needs, the people, and it's a perfect opportunity to match up the capability of not having to create code to deliver solutions. At the same time, we have the ability to build more complex solutions if we need to through a defined extension process, which is also very efficient by industry standards.
It's very nice to be able to cover both aspects with still being flexible to the customer. I mean, a lot of times we like to fit a round peg in a square hole, and it's very nice to see that you're covering a lot of it out of the gate, and then you're giving people the capability to be individual when it comes to what they want to see. And let's be honest, we all know that more people buy now or pick solutions based off the user experience, even if it's not the perfect solution for the end reporting need. And now you're baking in both of those two things together, which I think is a differentiator. Tim.
Yeah, one of the things about the Rapid App platform that 123 Go provides that I love is just a quick example of layer process audits. So it has out-of-the-box, full-featured layer process audit functionality, and it scales down to mobile devices so people can be out with tablets, with phones, and doing their audits. However, if somebody wanted to add a field to the layer process audit form, it's like 2 minutes, the field's on there, and it scales into the mobile app perfectly. So it's that quick.
Wow. You talked earlier, I think it was med device, some people that have unique requirements, and it sounds like automotive manufacturing, even food. It's a lot of flexibility here, right? So I don't want to pigeonhole it into one industry or another. Are there any other industries that are primary focus, or do you see as being the first adopters for this?
Yeah, one other thing that Strategic really will benefit from, and our customers benefit from, is we have some smaller companies that need quality management software. And companies on a low budget with maybe a few employees, or maybe they're a medical company and they haven't been in commercial yet. They're in the stage of pre-testing their products. We can deliver them a low budget quality management software that they can use to take care of the basic needs quickly, but then they can also scale up to maybe a more full-featured as they grow QMS. But it allows to bridge that early gap.
So on that early gap, and obviously having a lower cost option, we all know that scalability is important because that's how you do. But if a customer is using multiple ERPs, for example, are you determining they have to use one ERP over another, or is the product agnostic to any type of solution they're using for financials?
No, it's agnostic. So that's one of the things that I really like about what we can do for customers is we can start where they're at and we can grow with them. It's not about scaling because the technology auto scales for them. It's about growing with them. And as they're ready to step to the next level of process maturity, we can either say, okay, we can give you that, we can configure that in the platform, or like Tim said, if the best option for the client, which is one of the things that we share as a value, is you want to give the client the best option. It's not always going to be in the 1, 2, 3 Go stack. If it means, hey, we need to go to the best of breed, quality solution or whatever for any specific problem they have or challenge that they have in their space, that's delivered and provided, and I'm completely on board with that. So,
sure. And I just want to talk about integration. Dominic mentioned agnostic. So one of the cool things about 1, 2, 3 Go is it's been built to have the master data tables in it. So it can run standalone, but it can also integrate because it's got master data coming from ERP systems, products, customers, suppliers, equipment lists. But it also has master data from quality systems, document lists, non-conformances. So let's say that we're doing a customer's just using 1, 2, 3 Go for inspection. A lot of times you'd have to create a non-conformance out of an inspection record if something failed. That non-conformance is stored in a table. So if they were using a bigger quality management system, that non-conformance could go right into that system as well. So they play nicely with each other, and it can be that Lego set, like Dominic said.
So if I get this right, your integration capability allows you to basically be a hybrid approach. So if a customer doesn't have, they have let's just say that best of breed or a larger solution that they need, but they don't have batch history record. You have the ability to do batch history record for them with the integration capabilities, and then they have a seamless, basically, application to run, and they cover those gaps. So no matter if it's a start or if it's somebody that's in a global enterprise platform that has a unique requirement, you can do either one, that's awesome. Okay, I can't wait to see how that gets received after this podcast. I think you talked a little bit. We covered lower costs, quick turnaround, ease of use, the Lego set, which I think is a new term that I'm going to have to adopt. When we look at when someone is finding out, hey, and they're thinking to themselves, I have a problem and this might be a quality related issue. And you talked about how you're very well suited for startups and being separate. Maybe they don't have a manufacturing solution built yet. But like you said, they're pre-revenue generation. They just have financials and quality. You're uniquely positioned to be able to start and solve the quality pieces that they need for funding and for going that route. Is that usually a starting entry point, or do you go in everywhere? Like, when you start seeing an average customer for 1, 2, 3 Go, when do they come to you? Is it generally when they hit critical mass and there's a problem they can't fix, or are the quality people much like yourselves, which are constantly thinking and you're getting inquiries at every step of the process? Is there just trying to get people an understanding when should they look to reach out?
Sure. So it depends on the scale of the organization. So in quality, one of the things I like about quality is it spans multiple different sizes of companies. You've got startup companies that are pre-product, launch, and they're going through regulations and preparation for launch, all their documentation. And so we start working with those companies, and can give them experience between the SIG team and myself. Our experience in quality is very vast. So we can bring to their small team a lot of experience in systems related to quality. If you go to larger companies, there's a lot in manufacturing, in automotive, in materials manufacturing. There's a lot of challenges related to the new generation of workers that are coming in. They need systems that are easier to use. And if their current process is they use it in multiple different plants, but they have to fill out hard copies or Excel spreadsheets or things like that, we can go into those organizations and provide the benefit of a better user experience for their younger workers who expect things to function more like a mobile app on their phone. That's going to become even more of a continuing kind of story, I think, as we move forward, because to get people into the manufacturing space and that, I think one of the things that we really do really well is ask the question and consult with the client about what the real problem is before just solutioning it. We don't just go in and say, oh, I could build this, so let me do that. We say, what is the problem? If we can't define a problem, I've had people come to me before and say, hey, here's my challenge. And I look at it and it's like, it's really a people problem. Putting a system on top of it and paying me a bunch of money to work on it, that's not going to solve the problem for you. So I'm willing to say that. And
those are hard conversations when you have to admit to somebody that it's not a software. You can't fix this problem with software, right? That's always the hard one. Tim.
Andrew, you mentioned the question of when is the point of entry. Well, for some customers, one of the strengths of 123Go is that it's modular. So if they just need a nonconformance module and that's all they want to start with right then, they can do that without having to buy a whole QMS with a core set of modules, like 10 modules that they don't really need. So it provides that easier entry. So that's just another reason for 123Go and how it would fit. Maybe when they're to the point where they need 5 quality modules, they might want to switch over and they can retain parts of 123Go, or they can move it.
I think that's a great point, right? Being able to be flexible in meeting the requirement without having to say, here's your complete solution set. Because a lot of times in my past history, as I understand when I go in and I try to help somebody, if they want one thing solved, it might come with the fact that that's part of a larger stack of modules. It either prices it out or it's just a lot of transactional overhead. And it's a lot to keep up. So the ability that you're bringing to the market with flexibility, with scalability, with very easy to configure, with not being overwhelming, and really, I think a point that you hit on that we need to really highlight is the fact that the younger workforce does not like clunky software capabilities. They don't like user experiences that don't feel like a phone or gamification. And there's ways that we're trending because it just helps with how intuitive products are to train and keep people spun up on. With all of the great information that we've basically jammed into this last so many minutes, I do want to highlight, we've covered a lot, but give me a success story where we're taking those pieces and helping somebody solve a requirement and, of course, better their business with it.
Sure. So I've got actually two. Tim mentioned one of them earlier. So we started working with this local company that was doing assessments on lighting so that they could propose replacing existing lighting with LEDs. So we started this project years ago, but getting into that, they started off with wanting to take a solution that they'd kind of proved out in Excel. They wanted to convert that first to a cloud database where they could generate proposals for their clients more efficiently, more rapidly, more consistently. So we were able to go in, look at their existing state, convert that over into a database in the cloud that they could use. They then down the road said, we'd also like to be able to collect this information offline. We need this on our phones where we can record the information offline if we don't have internet connection. So we were able to also convert that over into a mobile app that they could then take out into the field where they don't have internet access, and they could collect all the necessary information that they needed very, very simply in a very streamlined way, take pictures of the existing fixtures and the installation locations, send that back, convert those assessments into quotes, convert the quotes into work orders, and all of the sub activities that they need to track. So they use it for their entire business. So this is a service industry business. That was one example. And then the other is in the automotive space. We went into an organization that had a very paper-based process for layered process audit management. And they had to record the results of their audits that they did on the shop floor, put those into an inbox, and they had a big stack of those. They would then have a quality engineer go through and type in the results of all of them into a spreadsheet, and then they would use that in their management meetings that they had weekly and monthly to say, this is what the status of our findings were. We were able to convert that manual system over into a automated system very rapidly with a standard layered process audit product that basically took it to where they have tablets out on the floor. They go through, they say, I want to do an audit today. It randomly pulls questions from a library that's predetermined and maintained by the quality manager, and they're able to record their results, and it's real-time metrics and an analysis back to the management team.
I imagine that stopped a lot of uncomfortable conversations and meetings from human error with that much calculation before you're going into a management meeting.
Absolutely. It expanded the clarity of the organization to know what the state of things were, and they didn't have to question the data. One of the things I see a lot with manual systems is you bring data to a meeting where it's based off of a manual process of data acquisition or data reporting or data processing, and people question that. They say, oh, you're telling me it's these numbers. Well, tell me how you came to that number, tell me how you collected that number. And oftentimes there were faults along the way, the human faults in data processing. And that's where technology can play a great part. If that's your challenge, is getting clarity of what's actually happening and eliminating a lot of that inefficiency and human error in the data processing stages, it's a no-brainer at that point if you can identify that.
Absolutely. So, for the purpose of this, I think it's amazing that the product has allowed management to run efficiently without those human errors. I think it's really crazy that you solved a field service solution without having internet on a tablet or on a phone, which, let's be honest, most of the time we talk about field service products for companies, they're always in areas that have either poor or no internet connection, and you generally have to wait hours to get back to report. And then the question is, if they did it on paper, did they get everything correctly? And if you're having a field service option on your phone, there's requirements they have to fill out. So, they're not going to miss things that might cause for extra trips, money, costs associated, and so on. So the interesting part for me is I think we covered a lot here, and I think people should really be interested in going out to the website, learning more about 123Go, the platform, the solutions, the offering, specifically around batch history records and some of the unique things that we're doing, even with PLM, which we'll get into next time. But I think a good thing we want to do is we're going to reconvene in a month or so and bring in a customer and do a customer testimonial. I know we're really close on a couple projects that we're doing. Really like to see one of those, and we'll do a start and a finish and see what the results are, and really bring a case study to bear. But thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much, Dominic, for your time today. I'm looking forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.